The opening chapters of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice function as a foundational manifesto for the Regency social order, establishing a world where marriage is the primary engine of both comedy and survival. It famously begins with a declaration of a truth universally acknowledged, asserting that a single man in possession of a substantial fortune must necessarily be in want of a wife. This sentence is perhaps the most celebrated instance of irony in English literature, as it presents the predatory desires of neighborhood families as if they were a natural law governing the man himself. Austen immediately clarifies that, regardless of this man's actual feelings, he is viewed by surrounding families as the rightful property of one of their daughters the moment he enters the neighborhood. This introduces the central conflict of the novel, the intersection of human affection and the cold, mercantile necessity of economic advancement through marriage. The immediate narrative catalyst is the arrival of a young man named Mr. Bingley, who has taken possession of the estate known as Netherfield Park. Though he does not physically appear in these opening pages, his presence is felt through the frantic energy of Mrs. Bennet, who is desperate for her husband to visit the newcomer. We learn that Bingley is a man of large fortune from the north of England, bringing in £4,000 or £5,000 a year, a sum that would make him one of the most eligible bachelors in the county. Mrs. Bennet's singular obsession is revealed through her dialogue. She views Bingley not as a neighbor, but as a fine thing for her girls, openly admitting that her mind is fixed on the prospect of him marrying one of them. This desperation is rooted in the precarious financial reality of the Bennet family, where the absence of a male heir means the daughters have no legal right to inherit their home.
Within this domestic setting, Austen provides a brilliant character study of the Bennet couple, a study in marital incompatibility that has lasted 23 years. Mr. Bennet is described as an odd mixture of quick parts, sarcastic humor, reserve, and caprice. A man who has clearly found that the only way to endure his marriage is through detached amusement. He takes a visible delight in vexing his wife, mockingly suggesting that she go to visit Bingley herself or send the girls alone because she is as handsome as any of them. Conversely, Mrs. Bennet is a woman of mean understanding, little information, and uncertain temper. Her life is defined by the business of getting her daughters married and the solace of visiting and news. When she is discontented, she retreats into the fancy of being nervous, a condition for which her husband expresses a mock respect, calling her nerves his old friends whom he has heard mentioned for at least 20 years. Among the daughters, Elizabeth is early on established as her father's favorite, as he observes that she has something more of quickness than her sisters. He dismisses the others as all silly and ignorant like other girls, but Elizabeth's sharp mind aligns more closely with his own. This sets the stage for Elizabeth to be the intellectual protagonist of the novel. Mrs. Bennet, however, is offended by this favoritism, noting that Jane is much handsomer and Lydia much more good-humored. This brief exchange establishes the internal hierarchy of the family and the different assets each girl brings to the marriage market: beauty, temperament, or wit. The narrative tension regarding Mr. Bingley's arrival finds a temporary, though characteristically ironic, resolution in the second chapter through the secretive actions of Mr. Bennet. While the first chapter was a duel of wills, the second focuses on the strategic disclosure of a social victory. Mr. Bennet was actually among the earliest of those who waited on Mr. Bingley, yet he maintained a facade of refusal until the very last moment, leaving his family in a state of agitated despair. The manner of his revelation is a master class in domestic psychological warfare. He observes Elizabeth trimming a hat,
and casually remarks that he hopes Mr. Bingley will like it, thereby dropping the bombshell that the crucial formal introduction has already been secured. This move instantly transforms him in the eyes of his wife from a tiresome husband into an excellent father, highlighting the volatile and purely transactional nature of Mrs. Bennet's favor. To understand the weight of this revelation, one must look at the specific social machinery Mr. Bennet manipulates. The chapter highlights the ritualistic nature of Regency social calls. By being among the earliest to wait on Bingley, Mr. Bennet fulfills a civic duty that is both a burden and a source of quiet power. His refusal to share this news allows him to observe his wife's resentful complaints as a form of private theater. In the gendered legalism of the Regency era, a woman was socially paralyzed without a male relative to act as a bridge. The fact that the Bennets could not visit Bingley until the patriarch had paid his respects was an immovable law of the drawing room. Without his initial footstep into Netherfield, the Bennet sisters would remain effectively trapped within the boundaries of Longbourn, unable to engage with the very fortune their mother so covets.
Literarily, these chapters are significant for perfecting free indirect discourse, where the narrative voice adopts the frantic news-obsessed tone of the local community. There is a profound irony in the author's life reflected here, as Jane Austen lived in a world where visiting and news were the primary solaces of a confined life. Her letters to her sister Cassandra are filled with similar accounts of neighbors and the exhausting social ritual of paying calls. The opening chapters conclude with the family in a state of conjecturing, signifying that the game of social climbing has officially commenced, with Mr. Bennet having provided the necessary opening move while simultaneously retreating to the sanctuary of his own library and fatigue.
Please like, comment, and subscribe if you don't want to miss the next chapter.